Aloha and welcome to another episode of Mentoring Monday. I'm so excited for you all to be joining us from wherever you are across the globe. I'll be your host for today. My name is Lorcia Tavuto. I'm from the beautiful island of Fiji. I'm a senior here at Brigham Young University, Hawaii. I'm majoring in political science, minoring in social work and Pacific Island study. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for today. I'm so excited to have her here. We have Jennifer Kajiyama Tinkham. Jennifer grew up here in Laie. She graduated here from Brigham Young University, Hawaii, as a valedictorian back in 2002, studying both political science and Japanese. As an undergraduate, she worked in the U.S. Senate, the Hawaii State Supreme Court, the Hawaii Attorney General Office, the State of Hawaii Representative. After serving a mission in Japan for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, she completed a joint doctorate and master's in public administration. Jennifer is currently an adjunct professor in political science and is the director of legal studies and pre-law advisor. Aloha, Sister Kajiyama.
Aloha! Aloha, Laura, and aloha, everyone.
We're so excited to have you. It's so good to see you in class and also here in our podcast. We have so much to learn from you. Now, I know I shared little things about yourself. Would you like to introduce yourself to all the viewers that's watching us from their home?
Yes, it's so nice to join you, Laura, and to speak or share my story during this Mentoring Monday. I feel so honored. I'm a little nervous as well, but I'm grateful for this opportunity. If I can share a slide with you, I want to share a picture of just to let you know a little bit more about Sister Kajiyama or a little bit more about myself. But I'm a twin. And my twin sister and I, we grew up here in this community, and we both attended BYU-Hawaii. And so she's also part of the story and my mentoring experience that I wanted to share. So let me share the next slide with you. I'm a twin, like I said, and I'm 7 minutes older than my younger twin sister, Nicole Kajiyama Holmes. And if you look at this picture, I don't know if you can tell, Laura, who's who. But I'm this one right here, or you can't see my arrow, but I'm the one on the left, and then that's my twin on the right. You can go to the next slide, please. We both attended BYU-Hawaii, and we're best friends. And like Laura said, I served in the Japan Nagoya mission, and my twin sister served in Hong Kong. And our paths came back together. We both went to BYU Law School, and that's also where I got my joint degree law and master's of public administration. And I'm so thrilled that I get to kind of tell you a little bit more about my family and about the story and how I ended up, I guess, teaching here at BYU-Hawaii. You can go to the next slide. So this is my twin sister, Nicole. I always feel like I followed in her footsteps. Even though I'm the older twin by 7 minutes, by far she is like the older sister to me. She's very hardworking, responsible, she like works hard for her goals, and she was a valedictorian when she graduated in December, and she always wanted to serve a mission and got her call to serve in Hong Kong. And I'm like, I got to do the same thing as well. And so I graduated. If you go to the next slide, I graduated in a couple months later. And I was able to be valedictorian, but I want to go to the next slide if I can. Just wanted to share with you this picture, just so you can only see my face, but if you see or met Sister Kajiyama in person, I am very short. I like to say that, yeah, I'm small but mighty, but if you can look closely, you can't zoom in, but I'm standing on top of a stool when I'm speaking, and I'm also wearing very tall shoes, and I still could barely like see over the podium. So anyway, but I have wonderful experiences of being at BYU-Hawaii, and I really feel like the experiences I had shaped the rest of my life. I want to go to the next slide if possible, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about how the mentoring experiences that I had, like being mentored and now having the chance to mentor, has really blessed me. And I want to be able to, I want to do what I want to serve the way that people served and helped me. And so this is a quote that I think is really powerful. And it talks about, sometimes when I think about mentorship, I feel a little bit overwhelmed to some degree, because I think of all the great people who helped influence my life. And I even think about our Savior, Jesus Christ, right? Ultimate storyteller, and ultimate mentor. But being a mentor is, in some degree, a very simple thing. It is the act of sharing your story with others and encouraging others to to share their stories and to go forward, like in accomplishing their goals. So anyway, this quote just talks about the power that a storyteller has, us as mentors and potential mentees, mentors and mentees. And it says that it's the storyteller who makes us what we are, who creates the history. The storyteller creates memories that survivors must have. Otherwise, surviving would have no meaning. This is very, very important. Memory is necessary if surviving is going to be more than just a technical thing. And so I hope, as I talk today and as I share my stories, that it can be meaningful, and that I can, I can help encourage students that while they're here at BYU Hawaii, they can accomplish and prepare for great things in the future. Okay.
That's so nice. That's a really great story. I myself am privileged and so blessed to be in one of your classes, currently one of our classes. And I really look up to you as a mentor. And it has really blessed me. And all, I would say, I speak for everyone in class that you're one of the people that we look up to. Really. Just a
Thank you.
question, if I ask, would you say that your twin sister is still here in Laie, or um,
Oh, she's not in Laie. So if you see someone in Laie that looks like me, it is me, Sister Kajiyama. My twin
okay.
sister lives in Arizona.
Oh, I
So,
see.
yeah. But just say
That's
hi. We both will say hi.
that's so
Yeah.
just to go back on your experiences here in BYU Hawaii, what are some of the things that inspire you to achieve more, to become better in school? What are some of your, like, would you say, your mentor here that encourages you or motivates you to be a better student that we can look up to as you, as you're like one of our mentors here?
Oh, thank you, Laura, for asking me that question. I've had so many wonderful mentors in my life, and I want to maybe highlight a few of them, if that's okay. But first, if I can I share about my father? Is that okay?
Yeah,
So,
I would love to
okay,
hear the
I
story.
want to, if I can share the next slide, I want to share a little bit of my father's story with you. And this is a picture of my father and his family. I don't know if you can see in this picture, you can tell who my father is if you know Katsuro Kajiyama, but he's the young boy in
Oh,
this picture, the youngest child in the picture. And this picture was actually the last picture my father has before his mother and his older brothers that you can see in this picture, they were both tragically killed, as well as many relatives during the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, Japan. And my father, who survived the impact by standing under a wooden door frame, was miraculously shielded and protected. And he is like an ultimate true survivor. And can I go to the next slide? So when I think about like how do I get through my hard experiences, I oftentimes think about my young father, like going through those horrible experiences, but yet coming out so resilient. This is some more pictures, of course, of my father, my true mentor. A few years later, after the bombing of Hiroshima, he was riding on a streetcar in Japan, and he noticed two American missionaries, and they kind of stood out, right? Two foreigners in Japan. And one of them was Elder Gary Roper. And he looked at my father and he did a very simple thing. He gave him a big smile. And that smile broke through my father's sadness and made such an impression on him that my father was really intrigued. Why would these foreigners come to Japan? And what was so important that would make them leave their families and country? And soon he began meeting with the missionaries. And then he was baptized, which is a picture. If you can go to the next slide. My father served a mission in Japan, like his fancy hats that they wore, and was able to teach the gospel. And we can go to the next slide. And he later came to America for college to BYU Provo in Utah, and transferred for a semester to BYU-Hawaii. And that is where he met my mother, Hilda Kajiyama. My mom was a student on campus in the hallways, and they met outside the hallways and then got to know each other. And anyway, eventually, my mom wasn't a member, but she eventually joined the church. And they were married in the Salt Lake Temple and then raised our family. And this is a picture of us when we were young. We can go to the next slide. So my father, we call him Papa Kajiyama. He's a wonderful father and now a beloved grandfather. And he survived the brutal devastation of war. But his story to me and the way he's kind of shaped my life is he's a story of resilience and faith and courage. And he did not give up no matter the difficulties that he faced. He opened up his heart to the gospel. He followed the Savior. He had faith and positivity and determination to never give up. And he instilled that within me as well. And I think about like some of the challenges and trials, dark experiences that I've had. And I think about my father. And he never let the darkest moments of his past lead him away from God. And he was always open to sharing light and love with others, no matter what he faced. And anyway, so I'm very grateful for that. Anyway, that's my father's story.
That's a really awesome story. You're really blessed to have your father around. I myself would say that as an international student, we could relate. One of our most motivate us to be in school would be our family, and they carry a lot of weight for us because we always want to make them proud. Remembering the decisions for us to be here, most of the time we get to think, this is for my family. They're at home, they're waiting. Most of the international students could really relate to you. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you, Laura. I think also about my father coming, not speaking English, and studying in America at college, going to getting his graduate school degrees and so forth. He never gave up. And I think of my international students who don't speak English as their native language, and they don't give up too. You're such great examples. Yeah. So I wanted to share with you a mentor from my experience here at BYU-Hawaii, if that's okay.
Yes, we'd love to hear it.
I want to share with you this other mentor I greatly love as well. And his name is Dr. Dale Robertson. And Dr. Robertson was not only a mentor at BYU-Hawaii, but he was a teacher, a professor of mine when I was a student. But he was also my teacher when I was in primary. Oh, wow. He was my CTR 7 teacher. And that was a very important class because that was the class that prepared us for baptism. And I still remember Dr. Robertson, he was going over our baptismal covenants and how important it was that we understand, and that when we enter into this promise with God, we knew what it meant. And he had us all repeat. And I still remember to this day, it was, I will keep my baptismal covenants, period. And he's have the period at the end. Anyway, so from the time I was a young child, he was always very kind and mindful of my sister and I. And then when I went to BYU-Hawaii, he was the chair of the political science department. Wow. And he became a wonderful mentor as I was starting to navigate what I wanted to do. What do I want to do with my political science degree? And there wasn't a pre-professional advisement center, no graduate school advisement. And so Dr. Robertson, we walked through the law school application process together. He encouraged me. He wrote my letters of recommendation. And all my life, he's always kind of checked in on me, making sure I was doing well. And when I got married almost 3 years ago this June, Dr. Robertson was my sealer for our temple marriage. And it was, yes, such a wonderful blessing. So BYU-Hawaii mentors and these relationships you build are not just temporal or academic in nature, but what I cherish and I'm so grateful for was that it was eternal, and it was spiritual. And he he continued that. It didn't end when I graduated, even till this day. So this is a 3 years ago picture of it. I still very greatly love and appreciate his kindness and mentorship.
That's a really awesome mentor. Um, I would say you look pretty in your wedding dress. Even though you got married 3 years ago, I've heard stories from my a mentor here. I have Lee Cummings who would say she was a bridesmaid in your wedding.
She was.
Yes. Dale Robertson. Is he still around here in BYU, Hawaii?
He no longer teaches at the university, but he is in EA. He and his wife, and they both taught at BYU-Hawaii, and they're in our board. They're wonderful, good people.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that story with us. Sister Kajiyama, I just have a few questions with you. I believe you're a professor here for legal study, which is a 15 credit class. Would you share more about the legal study program here at Brigham Young University, Hawaii, and how it impacts the students here at BYU, Hawaii?
Oh, thank you, Laura, for asking this question. I hope this might be helpful to students considering or when they're thinking about what they want to do for the future. I was very lucky to get a law degree and get a joint degree, Master's of Public Administration degree. And when I started to teach at BYU-Hawaii, one of our focus was how can we provide returnability options for our students? What can we do to enable them to find good work and positions when they graduate? And so one thing I was able to work on was to develop a legal studies certificate, which is essentially a 15 credit certificate. So there's 5 classes that you take. They're 3 credits each that will allow anyone who graduates with that certificate to get paralegal or entry-level legal positions anywhere in the world, United States included. And so I have students who, of course, work for law firms. I have students who are working towards are preparing to go to law school, but I also have students who work for government. And one of the things we learned as we were preparing for the creation of the legal studies certificate was where are some of the major employers for our target areas in the Asia and the Pacific area. And we found out that in the Pacific, the number one employer is government. And government officials that we talked with, employees, they said that when students have an understanding or a specific certificate in the law, they're more likely to have a competitive advantage when they apply for jobs and as they kind of are navigating their careers. And so we created that certificate with that in mind. I want to share a slide, if that's okay, with one of the connections we have. Is that all right? It's slide 21, if that's possible. So I could talk lots of more. These are some of our legal studies students. But the next slide is one of our special relationships that BYU-Hawaii, our legal studies program, has created with a law school in Hamilton, New Zealand. This law school is called Waikato Law School, and they have created an arrangement with our school, essentially, that if a student graduates from BYU-Hawaii with a legal studies certificate, they are able to get automatic admission or free admission into the law school. There's no admissions test or fee that they have to pay. And by going to the school in Hamilton, New Zealand, a law school in the Pacific, students are able to practice the law anywhere in the Pacific Islands, with the exception of French Polynesia and Tahiti. And again, like I talked about, they also have a competitive advantage for scholarships, academic research opportunities at Waikato. So we have several of our graduates who've done the certificate who are attending the law school now and who have graduated from the law school. And it's a wonderful opportunity for students currently at BYU-Hawaii to develop the skill sets to practice law in the Pacific as well.
We're so lucky to have resources that we have nowadays. I believe just 2 weeks ago, we had a pre-law society forum with Dr. Dave Moore from BYU Reuben Clark Law. He is a great professor. He shared some of his experiences with regards to his workspace. Just to touch on your teaching here, at Brigham Young University, Hawaii. What are some of the most rewarding, uh, the greatest impact that you have for students, the current student now, and the students that have graduated here from Brigham Young University, Hawaii? How would you say that political science department or the legal studies teaching program have impacted their lives?
Oh, that's such a wonderful question, Laura. I That's by far the best part of teaching at BYU Hawaii. It's interacting with the students, seeing them develop and grow while they're here, and then seeing them bloom and blossom and just shine as they go out into graduate school or in the workforce. I have I have been so grateful for those opportunities that have come to me because of the students was able to interact with. Can I share some screen? The screen, is that okay? I
Yeah.
wanted to share some pictures of some of those things that Laura mentioned. We Our legal studies program has created relationships, like we said, with Waikato Law School, but we also have a really wonderful partnership relationship with BYU Law School, also known as the J. Reuben Clark Law School in Provo, Utah. The law school has been a wonderful supporter of our students. This is a picture of BYU Hawaii graduates who were currently attending the law school. And so, again, there's a great cross section of students and what they're able to practice. The law school also does a lot of wonderful things to support our students. One thing that BYU Law School does is they fund an LSAT test prep program for our BYU Hawaii students. So, for those who are unfamiliar with the law school admissions process, there is a test that is called the LSAT in order to get into law school, the law school admissions test. And in order to get in, you can take the test, but the LSAT is really important to like get scholarships and other opportunities. And so studying and preparing is really essential. And so the law school provides that for our students. So if you do the legal studies certificate, students, this is a great tip, but sign up for Poli-Sci 354, which is an introduction to legal research and writing course. And a portion of that course is allowing you access to the LSAT test prep materials. Okay. If I can go to the next slide, is that okay? This is a picture of graduates from our legal studies program. I also get to teach in the public management program. And we also have a wonderful partnership with BYU's Masters of Public Administration program. And that, again, is a program that I graduated from, so I have a great deal of love for. And these are some of our students who are currently at the MPA program. This year we have 9 students who are attending the MPA program. And the MPA program is focused on giving practical skill sets for individuals who want to work in the private sector, so want to work for government or who want to work for nonprofits. And so anyway, these are some of our amazing students. And then I want to share, can I just go one more slide? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So Laura, as you mentioned, we've had opportunities to hear from some scholars in the legal community that deal with religious freedom. And a lot of it comes from our partnership or creation of the Religious Freedom and Human Dignity Initiative here at BYU Hawaii. It's a very new program, just started in the spring. And we have these fellows that you see here. We call them student fellows. And we have partnerships with the International Center for Law and Religion Studies at BYU Law School. And they our students have attended from the pandemic. So during the pandemic time, from spring all the way up until present, all of the major religion and law conferences around the world. And they haven't been able to attend physically in some of the situations because of COVID restrictions, but they've been able to attend virtually. And three of the students who are pictured in this picture right here, they also were able to go to Washington, D.C. and attend a religious freedom fellowship program, a religious liberty fellowship program, which gave students an opportunity to have like hands-on experience of how they can promote and protect religious liberty in their communities where they're from. So great opportunities for our students that I get to take part in.
Yes, that's really awesome. It is a great opportunity. And we also have forum once in a while with Pre-Law Society. Join us if you can. Just correct me if I'm wrong. the intake for MPA program, we have the highest so far from those 9 students were the highest so far from BYU Hawaii.
Yeah, that's true. And there's a few that also deferred who were accepted in this class. They love BYU Hawaii, not just because it's BYU Hawaii, but because of our awesome students. And one of the classes that I get to teach is public management, and this is a class Laura's in.
Yeah.
And a great aspect of the class is that students get to create their own nonprofit, and it is formatted so it can be registered in the state of Hawaii. And they choose an issue, they create a nonprofit, they sit on a board of directors, they do activities and so forth. So it gives you a chance to really see like what it would be like, I guess, to work in that space. And so anyway, one reason why I think our students are so attractive to the MPA program and do so well in the program is because they are well prepared from their experiences here on campus.
Thank you. It's a really great opportunity for all the students in our class to be in there. Speaking of students, I have some questions from some of the students. One is
Uh-oh.
from Noah. Noah is
Okay.
asking, how do you balance it all with teaching, practicing law, and having a family?
Well, that's a good question, Noah. I don't know if Sister Kajiyama is the best example of this. Yeah, I don't know that I am, but I feel like when I'm in the spaces that I am, I just try to do the best that I can. So when I'm teaching, it is students teaching BYU Hawaii. When I'm with my family, I try to make the time special and with them. I have a 13-year-old daughter and I have a 22-month-old son. And they bring our family so much joy. And just, I know, enjoying the time that we have together. I don't know if there's a formula for a perfect balance, but I feel like the Lord likes effort. And when he sees us trying, and some days are not good in terms of balance, but other times, most of the time, I think the Lord will see that effort we're trying and he can magnify when I'm not able to do as much with my family or able to support as much the like extracurricular things with the school stuff that I do at BYU Hawaii. But as long as you try, I think that's important. And Laura, can I share a story from one of my students?
Yes,
If
yes.
possible, about effort, and it's on slide 25.
Okay.
Okay, well, it comes up, but I want to tell you about this student who came to BYU Hawaii. His name's Siale Ola from Tonga, and he came as a little bit of an older student. He had a lot of work experience, but he felt like he needed to do more because he wanted to serve, and he felt like he couldn't serve his community and his country without being educated on those special skills. So Siale is the senior secretary now in the Tongan Parliament. And so he's a graduate of our BYU Political Science and Legal Studies programs. And he had, like I said, from the beginning, always wanted to come back to Tonga and serve his people and see and bring positive changes in his government. He participated in another thing that I get to participate in, which is a Washington, D.C. practicum, where we bring students to Washington, D.C. and have them interact with lobbyists and lawmakers and law schools. I mean, all different things, nonprofit groups and so forth. And anyway, that experience, he said, was really influential. So if I can show you the next slide, this is some of the cool things that CLA is able to do. He now, as a senior secretary in the parliament, he provides briefing papers and does research policy memos on topics that the government has asked him to do. He is charged with running committee meetings and public hearings. And in this picture that you see here, he was even selected by his government to represent Tonga in trade negotiations with China, seeking aid for one of their islands in Tonga. And when I spoke with him, he told me that if he was grateful that he never gave up, that the effort he put in, before he came to school, but when he got to school, it was all it all benefited him. And he feels very deeply humbled to know that he's like currently influencing the policies and directions of his nation. So I think he's another really great example. And then, can I show one more student? And then,
Yeah.
okay, this next slide, if I can share with you, his name is Timothy Tupua, and I call him T or Jimmy, but he's from Fiji. So I don't know if you know him, Laura, as a student.
I do.
Yeah, okay. Well, he is another very much beloved student of mine, former student of mine, and he is a first generation college student. Again, went through very difficult challenges to come to BYU-Hawaii, but never gave up, felt like he needed the education. And when he was in Fiji, he was unfairly detained by the police during the military coup in 2006. And that experience was life-changing, where he thought, I need to go and do something to help my country. And so with that deep desire to serve his country and reform government, he came to BYU-Hawaii to study. And can I share the next slide with you? This is a picture currently of Timothy. He served as the administrative officer in the Fijian embassy in Washington, D.C. He's also one of our students that we took in our Dc Practicum. He went to the embassy and he met with the ambassador at the time, and he had an internship there after he graduated that eventually became a job. And as the administrative officer, one of the things he was tasked with was to oversee the Fijians in the US, Canada, and Mexico areas around the world. And he was also in charge of the financial budget. And because he had a legal studies certificate, he was also tasked with creating and negotiating business contracts on behalf of the embassy.
Wow.
And isn't that awesome? And
Yeah.
so when we talk about effort and students, I have so many stories, and I'm sure that, I don't know, you've heard these in the previous podcast, but our students' experiences and their stories speak for themselves, and they're so inspiring. So if there are any students who are listening to this podcast, I know they want to listen to Laura. I don't know if they want to listen to Kajiyama, but just know that you can and will do amazing things. The Lord needs you, and what you do here at BYU-Hawaii is consequential and will lead to these great opportunities of leadership and the capacity to do a lot of the great good you want to do in the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I know with both the graduates here from working at Tonga and also the Fiji Embassy for Jimmy, they've created a pathway for students like me and also the students in general in political science to benefit from the work that they've done. And also, would you say that we could, from the connection and networking that we made, we could be able to do internships or academic training program with
Yes.
the department?
Oh, definitely, Laura. I have oh yeah. Can I share another experience? Do we have time?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Okay. Because this experience was something that happened to me at BYU-Hawaii. So it's on slide 15 if you want to share it. But I want to tell you, when I was a student and Dr. Robertson was my professor, he said, okay, students, come to my house. We'll have pizza. And I'm going to give you a chance to meet our speaker. That he's someone who spoke on campus. And his name was Thomas Griffith. And I don't know if you can't find the slide, it's okay. But Thomas Griffith was an attorney, and he worked for the United States Senate. And he was in Washington, D.C. And so I went to the event. I wanted to meet him. I didn't just go for pizza, but I met him and I told him, I said, oh, I'd really love to go to Washington, D.C. I'd love to work there. And I just need to find an internship. And Judge Griffith told me, just send me your resume and I'll see what I can do. And he helped me find an internship.
Oh.
And it was a paid internship at the U.S. Senate. I'm so grateful. But he didn't just give me that opportunity. And it just came from going to that pizza pit, okay, and asking the question. But he wasn't just a mentor to find me that internship. Like later on in this next slide, like I say, we take students to Washington, D.C. And the Honorable Thomas B. Griffith was a judge on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. And our students got to go and visit with him and meet with him. And he, like he encouraged me years ago, he now encouraged the students who are visiting with him to pursue the law, to do good in their communities. And yes, so Laura, you are correct. Students, take hold of these opportunities. That is like networking 101 experience. But Sister Kajiyama, I am so eternally grateful for Judge Griffith that he not only did he say, "How can I help?" but he actually helped me. And it wasn't just at that moment, it was like a lifelong mentorship. He helped me, and then now he is helping our current students as well. Anyway.
So, Sister Kajiyama, with all this internship that you have, you're practicing um, attorney now. Would you say? Can you share a little bit more of that experience and or what made you go into teaching and being an attorney at the same time?
Oh, wow. These are also really great questions, Laura. But I talked about my father's experience at the beginning. And truthfully, like to my very core, his experience is what motivated and propelled me to want to go to law school. Because I realized um, that that there needs that what happens by government and what happens by people who have positions of power, they affect people personally and individually. And my father was in Japan, right, during World War II and the bombing. And my mom's family and even my father's had family in America too, but they were Japanese citizens. They're nationals in America. And we also had Japanese Americans, family members, so people who were born in America. And during World War II, they were forced to be relocated to internment camps in America. So they lost their businesses and their homes. They lost their freedoms and their civil rights. And when I learned about the histories of my father's family and my mother's family, I was like, I need to be a voice and I need to be educated. And my grandma, who always wanted to go to college, um, and she never got that opportunity, but she told all of her children and her grandchildren that education empowers you. And you need, if you want to have a voice, you have to be educated. And so going to law school or going to college, BYU-Hawaii, and then going to law school um, was made up of those experiences, but it was, I guess, the motivation of trying to be an advocate for people who could not advocate for themselves. And I'm so grateful that I was able to go to law school. And I don't know, but I personally went through, difficult periods in my life. And after I graduated from law school, I found myself going through a divorce, and I had a young child. She was 6 months old, I think, at the time. And I, I just, it was really scary. Even though I had legal training, I didn't know I needed an advocate. I needed it so much, And I relied upon really good attorneys and mentors to help me through my process. And so they gave me strength and hope when I didn't have it myself. And so now, as I practice the law as an attorney, I feel so empowered and blessed because I do several things, but I do family law. And so I deal with clients who are going through similar things that I have experienced myself. And I hope that I can give them the hope and the courage and the tools and be that voice that they are not able to do as we navigate through the legal process together.
Thank you so much. Just hearing your story make me have goosebumps. Thank you so much. I really can relate to all these experiences that you've had. I myself have come through parents that's been separated, and I really, really look up to my mom because just like you, she strives so hard to be a mom and a dad and hope for everything to be better and the education that you've gone through. I would say that it gives us a little bit motivation in life to do the best in school, especially here at Brigham Young University, Hawaii. Um, Thank you so much for being with us today, Sister Kajiyama. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to our class tomorrow. If you have, for those who are watching, if you have any questions for Sister Kaja, make sure to comment. Go like our Facebook page, official BYU alumni page, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your stories, Sister Kajiyama. Just announcement to wrap up our mentoring Monday today. Don't forget to watch our on Friday podcast with Viliame Tofal. Friday at 3 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time for another Aloha Friday podcast. And on next Monday, we have Mentoring Monday at 1 p.m. with Jen Lesuma. Thank you. And
Thank you,
aloha.
Laura. Aloha.